Yeah, I'll just intro that the phone is in front of my video camera, and that's how we're recording this audio. So if it sounds unprofessional, it's because it is. Well,
That's my style anyway.
hell yeah, man. So how you doing?
I'm never better, man. I'm in a halfway house. I just got out of jail, and there's nothing. The best part about going to jail is getting out of jail. I was homeless in January. I was staying in an abandoned house, and there was a guy looking for his dead cat that came into the house, and we lit a pile of Christmas hats on fire to stay warm. And before you knew it, the wall caught fire and the whole house burned down. So I'm facing a second-degree felony arson charge, which carries 10 to 20 years in prison with it. So I'm kind of in a hot spot right now, facing trial for that. But it's going pretty well. They're focusing on my mental health and getting me treatment, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm bipolar. I have manic depression. And I was manic and psychotic and smoking weed, and I was high on mushrooms, and that's all. My only focus when I was in that house was trying to stay warm, and I didn't think it was going to burn down. I called 911, which helps prove that it was not arson, because arson is the intent to destroy, and I did not intend to destroy that already destroyed house. But I'm real grateful to be out and to be back on my meds properly and getting good sleep. And hopefully after a couple months, I might have an apartment again and be back on my feet. So I'm excited to be talking to you today about the rise and fall of Funtown Mountain. And this is the very first time I have spoken publicly about it at any length. I've even really not been able to face it myself. Today I Google image searched Funtown Mountain pictures, and it was the first time I've been able to look at those pictures without a sinking feeling in my stomach. And I was really delighted to see these pictures. And like, there's this one great shot. I hope you can use it in the video of all these people that came down to do the Kickstarter video wearing mascot heads. There's like 40 of us wearing like elephant, pink bunny heads, and Piggly Wiggly heads, and we were down there at the Airstream, and we did a video with my cousin Brendan Clark, who's a videographer, and it was all about Colonel Sanders. We had a wax figure of Colonel Sanders riding the chairlift, and he has like this chicken showdown where it's Colonel Light Meat versus Colonel White Meat, and there's like can dancers from the Guntown Mountain that are there and serving the chicken, and it was a whole ridiculous story. I can't remember what it was all about, but it was fun, and that was part of how we raised money for it. But I don't want to get too far ahead of it, the story here, because you mentioned that you wanted to kind of do a chronology of Guntown or Funtown Mountain and kind of how it happened and what happened and what I'm doing now. And I think the best place to start would be with the genesis of my love of roadside attractions is really where this all started.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, like, where are you from? Did you grow up in Louisville?
Yeah, I've been in Louisville my whole life.
Okay.
Yeah, I've traveled a lot. I do a festival called Lebowski Fest, which is a big Lebowski-themed bowling party that's traveled all over the U.S. and even overseas.
When did you start that?
That was 2002. We did it kind of on a lark, just thinking it wouldn't be any big deal, at this dirty, rundown Baptist bowling alley in the seedy side of town in Louisville by the trailer park and the liquor stores out on 7th Street Road, which is actually like a block from the house I burned down. Which is kind of funny, but yeah, it was just like a joke, really. We thought.
Well, I would like that you allegedly burnt down.
Yeah, allegedly. I actually didn't start the fire, so it was always burning.
I don't want you to incriminate yourself here.
Yeah, it was always burning since the world's been turning.
Yeah. Okay. So 2002.
Yeah.
And
so Lebowski Fest was kind of the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey, where I started to become a small business owner. We wrote a best-selling LA Times bestseller fan book called I'm a Lebowski, You're a Lebowski. Urban Outfitters picked it up. It was a big deal. It's been translated in like 5 languages and distributed all over the world, and there's been like 8 printings at this point. We don't get any royalties anymore, really, but it was a fun thing to do. It was funny. The literary agent called us up, and he was like, "Have you guys written a book about Lebowski Fest?" And we were like, "Well, we're not writers." And he's like, "Oh, that doesn't matter." And it turned out he was right. So Lebowski Fest was kind of how I kind of started to earn my, I don't know how you put it,
your notoriety,
reputation. My notoriety would be a good word.
Okay.
I'm definitely more notorious than famous. But I started to get a reputation for being kind of a creative enterprise guy. I started a retail store called the Y Louisville store in 2005 after Lebowski Fest, and we sold souvenir T-shirts designed by local artists themed around Louisville and Kentucky. There was an art gallery, and it kind of had like a carnival atmosphere. We had like, you know, a big prize wheel that people could spin and win free prizes, and there was like a big beer statue we called the Beer Wolf. The animatronic clown was there. The wax Colonel Sanders figure was there. There was a funhouse mirror in there, and it was just like a big photo op, big experience for the people that visited, and that did really well for 10 years as well. And those 2 businesses were very popular. We got a lot of press coverage. I never paid for one single ad for either one, and it was just always in the papers or in magazines or on the radio and in the news. So I enjoyed a lot of success with that. Now, it's important to note that I was on my medication and sober during this time. I was sober for 19 years. The relapse is coming once Guntown was purchased on the cursed chairlift. I'll get into the cursed chairlift in a little bit. But basically, I was able to leverage my experience as a business owner and my success to convince people that I could buy this amusement park called Guntown Mountain. And amusement park is used loosely here because it's like a roadside attraction, basically.
Yeah, there's no rides there.
No. Well, the chairlift is a ride. In fact, that chairlift was the very first amusement in Cave City. Dan Brody, who owned Guntown Mountain originally, he's the founder. He put that chairlift up, and that's all that was there. It was just a chairlift. It just took you up to the top of the mountain, and you could look out at the view, and then you go back down.
Yeah.
So I think it was called Cave Country Chairlift. There were some old decals left in the gift shop. There was all kinds of crazy stuff in that gift shop. It was great. So anyway, my love of roadside attractions started when I was getting ready to go to college. My dad and I won a radio promotion for a trip to a whitewater rafting expedition in the New River in West Virginia, in Hawk's Nest. And it was right before I went to college, and we went and got in the car. We had one tape, the Steely Dan Gold, and we listened to Steely Dan over and over again. You know, Hey 19 and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
And we got off the highway, and we started winding down these crazy mountain roads in West Virginia near the state park, Hawk's Nest. And there was like no other car in sight for like a half an hour. We didn't see a soul. Yeah. And we started to see these like hand-painted signs that were like, Mr. Wilson's Mystery Hole. See the Mystery Hole. Unbelievable. You won't believe your eyes. Come tour the Mystery Hole. See Gravity Defied. Water Roll Uphill. And all this stuff. And we were just like interested in this like weird attraction thing. So we go around the bend, and there it is. It's like this old Quonset hut. It's got like an old VW, like Volkswagen Beetle crashed into the side. It's all painted up psychedelic. It's got a big gorilla on the roof and big truck tires in the parking lot. And there wasn't a car there. There was even the owner's car wasn't there. So we pulled in there, and we go up to this little gift shop opening for the Mystery Hole, and we open this creaky screen door. And then out of the shadows emerges this little billy goat of a man named Mr. Donald Wilson. Mm-hmm. And he's dressed in like church pants and a button-down shirt with a little pocket protector and a little name tag that says Mr. Wilson. And there he is, Mr. Wilson from Mr. Wilson's Mystery Hole.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's real folksy. He's like, where are you boys from? And we're telling him we're from Kentucky and chit-chatting this and that. And he's like, well, do you want to tour the Mystery Hole? It's $1 per person. And we're like, hell yeah. So my dad forks up the $2. Mr. Wilson leads us back out onto the front porch and then closes the screen door and locks it behind us. Takes us around the side of the door. I don't know how he got there, by the way. He might live there. I don't know. He's no longer with us, but he takes us around the side. And there's this huge sign with all these warnings, like, warning, no pregnant people, not for the faint of heart. If you have any, heart issues, you can't go to the Mystery Hole. Be warned. So you go down this little ramp, and it's real dingy and mildewy, and he leads us down this dark corridor. And it's real narrow, and my head is almost touching the ceiling, and my dad has to duck. And the first thing we come across is this female mannequin with a sash on her that says Miss New River Gorgeous. The New River was where the whitewater rafting was. And he's like, this is my wife. She's great because she doesn't talk much. Comes in with the sexist joke right away. And then there was all this weird shit, like there was a California Raisins poster that was real old and like water damage just hanging on the wall. And there was a little like acorn that had like googly eyes on it in a little shadow box they called the head nut or something. Anyway, he goes down to the end of this corridor and all of a sudden he disappears. Where has he gone? What the fuck is going on? We don't know. And we go down to the end of the hall and he pops his head back out. Scares the shit out of us. He's like, come on into the Mystery Hole. So we step up into this room. It's got a wooden floor. There's a couch in there. And then there's a light hanging from like a string in the middle. And Mr. Wilson is standing at a 45-degree angle. And suddenly, as soon as we step onto that floor, we could not stand up straight. We couldn't balance. We were like laughing and falling all over the place. He needs to do all these gravity-defying like stunts, like he gets out a yo-yo and he's spinning it around. He's like quoting the Bible and shit. And then the big grand finale was he puts a wooden chair up against the wall about 6 feet up, just flat against the wall, and it stays there. There's nothing underneath it. And he ambles up this little ladder, jumps in the chair, and he just stays there. And he invited me to come up and try it out. I tried it out. My dad declined. But it was like this baffling gravity room that I now know the secret to, which I won't give away because that is the least fun.
Yeah.
But ever since that moment, I have wanted to be Mr. Wilson and own my own roadside attraction. And then, of course, you exit through the gift shop. There's all these I Survived the Mystery Hole bumper stickers, and I think I got a Frisbee and a T-shirt and a sticker. And, the whitewater rafting was fun and all, but that Mystery Hole experience changed my life.
Yeah, that'll stick with you. Yeah, that's awesome.
It was probably the coolest experience of my life. So ever since then, I've wanted to have a roadside attraction. And I discovered Cave City years later. My girlfriend at the time, she was from West Virginia. I actually went to her apartment. I didn't know her. And she had a Mystery Hole Frisbee hanging on her wall on a nail. And that's how I, bonded with her. We dated for about 5 years. She was the manager of the store for a while. Her name was Hillary. She hates me now, but anyway, that's a different story. Totally unjustified, but whatever. So anyway, the Mystery Hole changed me. And so Hillary and I went down to Cave City rather. It's about an hour from Louisville. It's in the Mammoth Cave area. Mammoth Cave, of course, is one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. It's the world's largest system of caves. And Cave City developed to kind of siphon off tourist dollars on the way to the cave. And the Cave City has a rich history that is fascinating to me. In the 1920s, they had something called the Cave Wars, where competitive tourist caves would do all these dirty tricks to try to get people to come to their cave. Like they would flip arrow signs to get people driving the wrong direction who were looking for Mammoth Cave, come to their cave. They would spread rumors about like outbreaks of tuberculosis being in the cave.
It got violent at times, I believe, didn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, Mammoth Cave was used as a tuberculosis asylum, or I don't know what the proper term is, but sanctuary or whatever.
Yeah.
But there was a guy from Louisville who bought it, and he thought that the cool air inside would cure the tuberculosis. He ended up dying of tuberculosis. But Mammoth Cave is a fascinating place and a lot of fun, and it attracts a lot of tourists. There's a place called the Wigwam Village there where you can sleep in a concrete teepee that a friend of mine actually bought recently. His name is Keith Stone. He was the editor of the Leo Weekly. And they're now restoring it to its former glory. I'm very glad it's in their hands. It's one of the last examples of what's called mimetic architecture, which is where the building is the shape of whatever it sells. For example, in California, there's a lot of donut shops that are shaped like donuts, or a tea shop that's shaped like a tea kettle, etc. But Hillary and I had a blast. We took all these great pictures. She had like an old Holga camera. We got Dinosaur World, Big Mike's Mystery House, the Wildlife Museum, and Guntown Mountain. And we went up there and drank a root beer out of a boot, and a little plastic red boot. Saw the Can show and the Lecherous Magician, and the Opera House had a concert. And then they did the Wild West shootout and the hanging. And you get put in jail by a sheriff up there. They have a fake jail up there, and it's Wild West town. That's what Guntown Mountain is, by the way. It's a Wild West village on top of a mountain with a chairlift. But all that really was what got me interested in roadside attractions. And what happened next was I went down to Cave City with a different group of friends years later, and we went to the Wax Museum. It was called the Mammoth Cave Wax Museum. And it was this super creepy, no humans were in there. It's just this corridor of dioramas that lights fade up and down with each one, and then there's like an automatic tape voice recorder that plays over each scene. And you can hear the other scenes in the background, like droning on. It's real creepy. And they've got like the Last Supper in there. They've got like Elvis and Dolly Parton near the end, and then of course the last one is Jesus. And then there's this old lady named Karma who worked in the gift shop there, and there was a big sign on the outside that said "for sale." The Wax Museum was for sale. So that really inspired me, and I was like, oh man, if I could buy that place, I could have a roadside attraction in Cave City. It's perfect. And then I came up with this concept called Kentucky Rushmore. And Kentucky Rushmore was going to be a big monument created out of like fake stone that would have the heads of Kentucky icons like Colonel Sanders, Muhammad Ali, Abe Lincoln, and a horse head, I think were the last four that I decided on. And it was going to be in front of the Wax Museum. The Wax Museum price was ridiculous. I can't remember how much they wanted. They ended up just auctioning off the figures, and the building is now used for something else. But it kind of, have you ever heard the term feature creep?
Feature creep?
Yeah.
I don't believe I have.
It's used in like project management speak. It's like when you're working on a project, like a software project, and the client wants more and more stuff and more stuff, and they don't want to pay more. It's called feature creep.
I'm a graphic designer. I know how that goes for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, feature creep started happening with me, and I wanted more. I wanted the Kentucky Rushmore to be on the side of the highway. I wanted it to be visible from I-65. And there was another plot of land that was adjacent to the woolly mammoths at Dinosaur World that was really big, and I wanted to buy that place and call it Kentucky Wonders. And I even had like a little mascot called Trip Dubs. He was a jackalope, and I would go down there all the time and look at the land. And I wanted to have like a Kentucky Oddities Museum, an amphitheater, a pumpkin patch, and then the feature was going to be the Kentucky Rushmore sculpture that would be visible from the highway. And I came up with a business plan, and I was trying to get funding for it, and then I got depressed. With manic depression, I kind of oscillate between being elevated and energetic and inspired and creative to being just like flat, uninspired, and not wanting to do anything but eat cheese and watch Netflix for 2 years. So that kind of happened with Kentucky Wonders. I got depressed and I just kind of put it down. And during that time, the founder and owner of Guntown Mountain, Dan Brody, approached me. He found me in Louisville to see if I wanted to buy Guntown Mountain. And I was like, hell no, absolutely not interested. And I probably could have gotten it for a song at that point.
Yeah.
So he ended up selling to somebody else, a fellow named Lee Brody. This guy, I think he had a mail order bride. He was something else. He had gold teeth. All the big shots down in Cave City have gold teeth.
Okay.
And they're typically named like Big Mike, Big Hoss, Big Lee. I wanted to be Big Will. In fact, when I was manic down there, I wanted to get some gold teeth. I'm really glad I didn't do that, though.
Yeah.
So a couple years go by, and I was in a marriage with a woman that I had proposed to on the Guntown Mountain chairlift after knowing her for 2 weeks.
That's nice.
Yeah, we were in a hurry.
Yeah.
Because I was manic and I wasn't thinking properly. So that didn't go very well because after a few months we got to know each other, and she got pregnant after 4 months. And once we got to know each other, we found out that we didn't really get along. So I ended up marrying her anyway after my daughter was born, and it didn't work out. We got divorced, and I went down to Nashville to see Bonnie Prince Billy play. Will Oldham is a big musician in Louisville, and I'm a huge fan. I'm probably his biggest fan. And I went down to see him play, and he dedicated the song to me. He dedicated I See a Darkness, which is one of my all-time favorite songs. It's about depression. Nice. Johnny Cash covered it. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And on the way back up, I stopped by Cave City and took a walk, and I realized that the place was shutting down. The business was slow, and places were closing up, and I really wanted to help it out. So I called up a real estate agent named Raymond Hishma, bless his heart. He's been my fellow down there helping me through all this, to see if Guntown Mountain was for sale. And the reason that I wanted to buy that place, and I shit you not, was basically because of the haunted hotel. At the bottom of the mountain, at the foot of the hill, is this old haunted house that has no actors in it. It's all like automatic buzzer, old school prop gags. Like you step on a platform and a buzzer goes off and a light comes on and a werewolf is standing there. Mm-hmm. So I was in love with the haunted hotel, and I just had to have it. So I asked him to find out if the haunted hotel was included in Guntown, and it turns out that it was. So that's how it all got started. That was kind of the genesis of, me wanting to have a roadside attraction, me getting connected to Cave City through the Wax Museum, the Kentucky Wonders thing not working out, and then Guntown Mountain being for sale. But Lee Brody, who bought it, didn't want to sell it. He wanted like $500,000 for it. And I was like, I'll give you $300,000. He's like, nope, $500,000. And I was like, how about 400? And he's like, nope. And I was like, okay, you got a deal. I shook his hand, and I was set off to raise money. And like I mentioned before, I had like a lot of money from the businesses and a lot of credit kind of stored up and lines of credit and stuff. Mm-hmm. And we applied for, I think it was a grant from the Kentucky Tourism Board. We got $250,000 from the Kentucky Tourism Board because it was all about tourism. Yeah. We got $250,000 from South Central Bank, and then we did a Kickstarter and other fundraisers, and I was able to come up with the purchase price of $750,000 to buy Guntown Mountain, which is amazing. I did it in about 6 months, and that was all a gift of mania, being that inspired. But that's kind of how it happened.
What year was that then, when you finally got the money together?
2015.
Okay, that's right. Okay.
So I bought it in like, I want to say May. And in March, like 2 months before I even bought the place, I was already announcing like the grand opening date. Really putting the cart in front of the horse, printing up stickers and T-shirts, and making a big fuss about it.
I remember that. Yeah,
yeah, this is all symptomatic of mania, and kind of the irresponsibility and the kind of devil may care attitude that comes along with it. So I was kind of setting myself up for failure. So Guntown opened up June 19th, and the only things that were open were the haunted hotel and the blacklight putt-putt down at the foot of the mountain. The top of the mountain was open, but we didn't have any actors there. I wanted to change it to Funtown Mountain, because you only have to change one letter on the sign, which we did. We did write a big letter F over the G. And, it was weird. It got real political. Like, people got real weird about me taking the guns away. Like, became the Second Amendment thing on Facebook. And people were like, who's this outsider liberal coming down here wanting to take the guns away from Guntown? And also, we had a clown for a logo, and they didn't like the clown thing. We also got a liquor or beer license, and Cave City had just become a moist county, like right at that time, so that was like some resistance as well. So there was a lot of controversy, but it was very much talked about. Mm-hmm. And what happened was, the very first thing that happened once I took possession of the mountain was we had the chairlift inspected. And the chairlift is from the 60s, and the inspector says you cannot operate this under any circumstances. This is not safe. People are going to die on this thing if you try to operate it. It's going to cost $500,000 to fix. So
that's interesting. Because the previous owner, was he using the chairlift? Was it operational prior to?
No, it was. I mean, Dan Brody was, but not the new buyer, not Lee Bartlett.
Okay.
Lee Brantley.
Because I remember stopping in there before you bought the place, and they told me that the chairlift was not operational.
Yeah. So Lee was not operating the park when he bought it. He was like, I don't know what he was doing. He was going to do some updates or something. So it was just kind of sitting.
The haunted house was open. I remember that. He let us go through the haunted house. But anyways.
Love that haunted house. It's the oldest walk-through attraction in America.
Yeah, I have a print. You were selling prints on one of your opening days that I had framed in my living room of the haunted hotel. It's a screen printed art print thing. I don't know who. I forget the artist's name. But yeah.
I think that was Jim Madison was his name. He was at a Bowling Green.
Okay, he did a fantastic job. I love that thing.
Yeah, I'd love to see a picture of that. You should put it in the video.
Yeah, I will. I'll text it to you later. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so anyway, I was very manic at the time. I was not taking my medicine. I was sleeping down in the gift shop. I was no longer going to meetings. I stopped going to yoga. I stopped talking to my sponsor, my support group. And I just kind of became more and more disconnected from my support and my center of reality. And on June 18th, the day before opening day, I was sitting on the chairlift after 19 years of sobriety, and one of the sound guys who was doing the sound up at the Lucky Lady Saloon, he had a joint, and he asked me if I wanted to hit it, and my thought was, after almost 20 years of going to AA meetings, was this is no big deal. Yeah, I'll take a hit of that joint. And I was off and running. I made the mistake. There was one guy that was working for me. He was great. His name was Magic Mike. He was my weed guy. And I wanted to keep it secret from everybody, so I would give him money, and he would buy weed and put it in this like phantom statue up near the haunted putt-putt, and I would go get it. And then one day he came back with this little baggie that had scorpions printed on it, and it was like this tiny little, it was the size of a quarter, and it had this stuff in it, and he was like, don't take more than one hit of this at a time. And I was like, don't tell me how to smoke my drugs. and I made the mistake of buying weed from a white guy in Cave City, which you should never do. And it turned out that it was spice.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you know about spice, but it's bad news.
I always thought spice was just like what's the word I'm looking for? Not weed, but like synthetic weed, right?
It is synthetic weed, but they like jack it up with all this hillbilly, like they spray it with like roach killer.
It's like homemade spice, some fucking okay.
And it really messes people up. Like it causes permanent psychosis.
Does it? Okay. No, I don't. I'm not that familiar with it. But go, yeah.
Well, I smoked the whole bag and became familiar with it, and I've lost my mind. And let me tell you, that Wild West Village up on top of that mountain is a great place to go crazy. Yeah. I ended up getting naked, and I had this prop from the movie Big Trouble in Little China. It was called The Chinese Wild Man. And I lit that on fire in the middle of the town and just became a ghoul.
Are you alone while you're doing this?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody wanted to be around me. And I was also getting arrested a lot. And every time I got arrested, it would end up on the news, because I was kind of a public figure. And the Barron County and Hart County police did not like me in Horse Cave and Cave City. They wanted to run me out of town, and that they did. Every time I'd leave the property, they'd pull me over and, lock me up for having an open beer in my car. I actually got caught drinking Mike's Hard Lemonade while driving, and the newspaper wrote a story about the DUI, and they mentioned specifically that I was drinking Mike's Hard Lemonade, which my friend who's in the media says that he has never in his life seen anybody mention the specific type of alcohol that somebody was drinking when they got a DUI. They just did it to make me look like a pussy.
That's amazing. So, like, if you went to the grocery store or something, were people in the community mad at you, or how would you get treated?
I was nuts, man. I was not paying attention to how people were treating me. I was like giving out marijuana. I was like leaving it at the counter at the gas station. That was one of the arrests. Was I left like some marijuana in the tip, like the give a penny, take a penny thing at the 5-star gas station by Guntown.
And they turned you in for that?
They sure did.
Oh, God damn it.
I was just trying to be nice.
Right, yeah. It's funny.
Anyway, I was crazy.
Yeah.
But I had all these plans for it. I wanted to rename it Funtown Mountain and make it an amusement park for my daughter. I wanted to have something called the Treetop Village, which was going to be basically like a life-size Ewok village from Star Wars, with all these tree houses connected by rope bridges and, trees and little tree houses and whatnot.
Yeah.
I wanted to have a Kraken water slide, which would have like a big sculpture of the Kraken from Clash of the Titans with a water slide coming off of it.
Yeah.
I wanted to have like a petting zoo, and I wanted to have concerts up at the Lucky Lady Saloon. I did have one event up there with a Led Zeppelin cover band, and I opened the show as a DJ. My DJ name was DJ Shit Show, and I would like play a record and then go in front of the tables and like shake my ass and dance like a lunatic, and I scared the shit out of everybody.
How did people get up there?
We drove them up on the tram.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was this cool tram that was down there. It was like red, white, and blue that we drove around town a little bit over to the Mexican restaurant. But all these people kept coming out of the woodwork that wanted to work there. It was all these like great young people from like Glasgow and Bowling Green and Cave City area, and it was getting weird for a while there, because it wasn't
getting weird, but it wasn't just you getting weird. It was other people getting weird as well.
No, mostly me.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
See, because I'm like when I'm manic, I'm pretty fucking charming and charismatic, and like if I knew how to tune a guitar, I would have been a cult leader.
Okay.
But I could never figure out how to tune a guitar, and people started staying there. And my ex-fiance told me once that once you move people into your compound, that's when you have a cult. So it was getting a little dicey out there for a while, and I'm like the boss, I called myself the ringmaster.
Yeah.
I even had a business card that said that.
Are you paying these people, or are they just hanging out?
Yeah, they're paying. They're getting paid.
They get paid. Okay.
I mean, for the most part. And near the end, I wasn't able to pay anybody because I ran out of money.
Yeah.
So one of the big triggers for mental illness is stress. And, being $1 million in debt and having a broken chairlift and not being able to get people up to the moneymaker up on top of the mountain was a tremendous amount of stress. And that was kind of what pushed me into, like, psychosis, and the spice didn't help.
Yeah.
And so all the arrests and not being able to pay my bills quickly, very quickly, like Funtown Mountain was operational for maybe 3 months, if that. And for the most part, people wouldn't show up there because I was a lunatic living there. And I'd shaved my head and thought I was Hunter S. Thompson. And,
Did you have, because obviously you were promoting the hell out of it on opening weekend, and I was somewhat familiar with you, and I kind of knew, like, it was going to be a cool place, but did you ever have families, like the Griswolds stop by,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we had families, like kids would come.
Okay.
I mean, one of the bits of feedback I got was that there should be more activity for kids.
Yeah.
Like, I had to invent all this garbage to do on opening day because there was nothing to do, so we had, like, fun noodle fights, like those little pool noodles.
Yeah.
We would give the kids one and have them duke it out. And
You were showing Pee-wee's Big Adventure, I think, the night I was there.
we were going to. I don't think I think I ended up going to jail. But yeah, Beetlejuice was on the menu. Beetlejuice on the Mountain.
Okay.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure was supposed to be for opening night. I think we did screen. I can't really remember.
There was something screening. I didn't actually go down there because we were doing other stuff. But there was a movie playing. I don't remember what it was though. But yeah.
My big mantra was YOLO.
Mm-hmm.
It was the year of the YOLO, and I always said YOLO. And I also did this thing where somebody would be like, "Hey, Will, we're late on our electric bill." And I would kind of wave my hands in the air, and I would say, "I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about it."
Yeah.
So I wasn't worried about anything, but the bank was, because they weren't getting their checks, and they foreclosed on me after like 3 months, and I had to file bankruptcy, and I got sued by South Central Bank and the Tourism Board for the loans, and I became extremely depressed. I was publicly humiliated. People were mad at me. It was just a big mess. So I was suicidal. I actually Googled how do you tie a noose and never bought the rope. But my friend, Brian Buckler, he was my best friend. He would take walks with me in the cemetery every day. And he gave me a new mantra other than YOLO, which was just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept going until I felt better. And my sponsor at the time, he told me, if you kill yourself, Will, your daughter's going to blame herself for the rest of her life. And that definitely stopped me from doing that. Because I love my daughter, and I didn't want to mess with her life like that.
Well, I mean, going back... Oh, I'm sorry, if I could... Because this has occurred to me, because you said that you had proposed to your daughter's mom on the chairlift. And then
but that was years before I bought it.
Right, but obviously, that led to your daughter, and then because things could have gone horribly differently if you had not had a daughter.
Exactly.
And so that's all tied into Guntown as well. With the proposal on the chairlift.
Maybe it's not cursed after all.
Yeah, but that's
it's
awesome.
It's tough having a bad relationship with her mother, because the worst thing that ever happened to me is inextricably tied to the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not kind of a wash.
Right.
So yeah, it's a good point. It's a good way to look at it. Like, had I not proposed to her mother on that chairlift, I wouldn't have had that to save my life later.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. Thanks. You got it more succinctly than I did. Yes.
Yeah. So, I healed after a few years, and I founded a mental health advocacy nonprofit called the Everything Will Be Okay Project. Had like an astronaut logo, and the idea was a lot of mental health nonprofits, they have events that are like suicide walks and stuff like that are really like somber occasions, and I wanted to do stuff that was fun to celebrate mental health to help reduce the stigma. So we did one event. It was like a concert we had bands and comedy and storytelling. I told my story a little bit. We went on this crazy tour to promote Funtown Mountain called the Carnival of Fun Tour. Mm-hmm. We had a magician named Christopher Wonder, who's my dog. His act, he hypnotizes a live chicken. And so we were traveling with a chicken in a dirty cage, and his girlfriend, Go-Go Amy, was a go-go dancer, and she was a performer as well, and the DJ Shit Show. And then we had this group called the Dan Band that was in some movie, some comedy movie. That was how they got their fame.
Yeah, I've heard of them. Okay.
These shows were attended by like 5 to 10 ticket buyers at the most.
Okay.
So we didn't raise any money, and we had this Airstream called an Argosy. It was the only year that Airstream made a Airstream with a drivable cab, and we were up in Milwaukee area, and we were doing like 60 down the highway, and the wheels literally fell off the Airstream, and we had to get out and all cram into this van. And Go-Go Amy and Christopher Wonder, they were dating, and they would fight every night and break up, and then our poor tour manager, Mark Evans, would have to try to get them back together. And it was just nuts, man. It was a lot of fun, but...
Yeah, that sounds like a wild experience that you're probably glad you had, I'm assuming.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not done yet.
Yeah, I know.
I'm still like wanting to do an amusement park.
Okay.
It won't be Guntown, but I've got a new concept for something here locally in Louisville area called the Kentuckiana, and it's going to be a paddle boat, a river boat with an animatronic band. Animatronic band was part of the Funtown thing. It's called the Wolfpack 5. It's made by Aaron Fechter, who created the Rocket Fire Explosion. And it'll have a bunch of like vintage carnival stuff on it. And then the idea is that there will be 2 miniature amusement parks on either side of the river, one in southern Indiana and one in Louisville. And the boat will go back and forth from each dock throughout the day. And it'll have like carnival rides and Wizard of Oz themed putt-putt and all kinds of fun stuff. So that's my latest thing. I've not announced it or anything. This is the first anyone's hearing of it. But being in jail for 4 months, I had nothing but time to reflect. And I came up with this concept that I really want to try to make it happen. So be on the lookout for the Kentuckiana. It was inspired by these 2 bars in town that are no longer open. One was called Jim Porter's Good Time Emporium, where we had one of the fundraisers for the Carnival of Fun. It had Jessica White, the mountain dancer. He was there.
Oh, yeah. I've been to Jessica's apartment before. But, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's a story.
I mean, that was terrifying.
It kind of was, but, yeah.
Yeah, so... and then there was another place invented by the same guy called Phoenix Hill Tavern, and those were like my 2 favorite places. They're just... It's like... You know, Cracker Barrel has all that weird decor inside of it.
Yeah.
It was like Cracker Barrel on crack.
Okay. Or on spice.
It was all like mazy and labyrinth, and there's all these different bars within one bar. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be in the style of Jim Porter's Good Time Emporium at Phoenix Hill Tavern.
Okay.
But it's going to be on a riverboat with little mini amusement parks on either side of the river. The Kentuckiana. I'm calling it the Kentuckiana Project for the fundraising part of it. But I think I can pull it off because I got more experience and a better head on my shoulders, and I'm taking my time. This time.
Can you? I mean, hopefully this is Can you still get funding for something like that? Do you think?
I do. Okay. It's going to be more difficult because, well, the way bankruptcy works is after 7 years it gets cleared off your record. It gets expunged, basically. Yeah. And it's been like 8 or 9 years, so I'm in the clear there. I just have to build some credit. And I've got relationships with the banks. They know me. And I think as long as you have like a solid business plan, they're willing to come off some money.
Okay. Sweet, man. I hope that happens. Because you haven't mentioned this, so I don't know if I should mention it. I can take this out if you want, but do you want to say anything about the Marvelous Mystery?
Oh, right, I forgot about the Marvelous Mystery.
That place was amazing. I went there as well, and I loved it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it was unknown place. Not a lot of people found that place, but we had a big vortex tunnel and like a walk-through attraction thing. We sold souvenirs. We had arcade games, and that was with my ex-fiance. We had that together. She left me in January. She ended our 7-year relationship in 3 seconds flat and walked out the door. And that's how I became homeless. Was I couldn't afford to live there anymore because we couldn't split the rent. So that's a sad story. She changed her pronouns, shaved her head, and started dressing like one of the Backstreet Boys, and then was never any fun anymore. And I'm pretty sure that she's gay now. So that's kind of a heartache. But, you know, she's a wonderful person. I love her to death. I always will. And I hope she's doing well. She's studying to become a therapist, and she's a very gifted therapist, and you know, I wish her the best. But she was part owner in the Marvelous Mystery. She had 50% share in that. But yeah, those are my 2 attempts at roadside attractions: Guntown, Funtown, and then the Marvelous Mystery, and hopefully the Kentuckiana is the 3rd time charm.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it, man. Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, yeah, because I would, like I said, I went to Funtown after everything had gone down and kind of observed the damage myself, and yeah, walked around. Like, I hiked up to the old West Town, and I'd never actually been up there before. Just completely trespassing. I don't know who owned it at that time.
It was in foreclosure. Nobody owned it, really. The banks, I guess, technically did.
Okay. Yeah. I
bet it was spooky up there.
Oh, whoa. Yeah, and I got video.
So tell me about it.
I got video somewhere because I was there with my friend Ashley, and she had no idea what this place was. She'd never heard of Funtown Mountain.
What's Ashley's last name? Okay, that's not the same Ashley.
No, this is Cincinnati girl, but she had no idea what we were doing. I'm like, we're going to Funtown Mountain. Don't worry about it. And then we went. Because my main thing too, like you, is I always wanted to check on the haunted hotel, just make sure it's still doing okay. You know, still standing, and I haven't been down there in a while. Hopefully, it's still doing okay. I don't know.
Yeah, it's now under owner of Frogettes. It's called Frogettes Guntown Mountain.
That's right. Yeah, because actually I spoke with Frogettes because when I was up there, you left a lot of really cool stuff up there.
Yeah, I know. I didn't get any of it back.
And that's why I was calling Frogettes, because I was following your legal problems or whatever, and not making any judgment whatsoever. I was bummed. I was just like, but when I trespassed up there, I saw all the stuff you left, and I knew they had new owners, and so I called Mrs. Frogette, and I was like, hey, I want to come down, and I'll bring a U-Haul, and I'll clear all that out for you, and I'll buy it. Yeah. And she agreed to that. She's like, she was happy. She was like, yeah, let's make that happen. And then I never heard back from them. I couldn't get them to answer my phone calls after that. So I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Who knows what became of that stuff?
Yeah. Because you had some like Pee-wee's Playhouse stuff up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, garbage. I remember you had a cement mold of a garbage pail, of a atom bomb, a garbage pail kid.
Yeah, I had all kinds of amazing shit. The best stuff was the animatronic band. I had part of the Rockafire explosion, and I had part of another animatronic band called Circus World that had a big bear. There's actually, I sent you a picture today of the bear kind of laying flat in front of the gift shop in the parking lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of cool stuff lost to the wind. We don't know what happened to it. But that's okay. I'll have another chance to build something new at the Kentuckiana. So,
I will confess, I did rescue one thing, but I no longer have it. It's the surfing Yeti painting. That says "Cool Waves" on it. I believe you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I do know that one. That's Patrick Gilbert. That's a great artist.
Yeah, I carry that thing all the way down the mountain, man.
Wow.
And Yeah, so basically, I'm confessing to a crime right now where I trespassed and stole private property.
A couple of crimes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it went to a good home for a while.
Yeah.
What happened to it?
Actually, Ashley has it. The girl that was with me.
Can I buy it back?
Possibly. I'll talk to her about it. Yeah.
I'm definitely interested.
Okay. I will ask her. She's out of town right now. She's at her brother's wedding, so I'll ask her when she gets back on Tuesday, I think.
All right, cool. That would be a really nice thing to have.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet. And I took care of it because I had it for years, and she kept hounding me about it, and I finally gave it to her for her birthday a few years later.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think what year that was.
If I get it, I'll put it on public display.
Okay.
So she can still come visit it.
Right. Yeah.
It'll be at the entrance of the Kentuckiana.
Now, so the Frogettes, they're taking care of the place pretty well?
From what I understand, I called them at one point to see if I could come visit, and they told me that it wasn't a good idea, that I couldn't come on the property. So this was after I was like stable and sober too. So I don't know. They just
what are they gonna do if you just show up and you're not doing anything? Like you're a paying customer, right?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go to the haunted hotel at some point. I want to visit that place again.
Yeah, and the what is the restaurant Water Wheel, man? I love the catfish buffet at the Water Wheel.
Yeah, the watermill is delicious.
The watermill, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that place a lot, and.
Yeah, Cave City's the best.
I do. I've always had a fascination with it. I've stayed at the Wigwam, and when I stayed there, it was under the original owner, whoever owned it. I think I stayed there on your opening night of Funtown.
Oh, nice.
I think I did.
We had a party there that night, so we were probably hanging out together.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was a different night because I definitely would have partied with you guys. One time I stayed at the cabins there, and then one night also at the Wigwam. So that must have been the night we stayed at.
Are you familiar with the band called Murder by Death?
Yeah.
They were there that night.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very exciting for me. I love those guys. They played Lebowski Fest one year.
Okay. I don't know them, but when I stayed at the Wigwam, I was pretty excited about it. And and I didn't have any cell phone reception inside the Wigwam, and the TV only got religious stations. So I couldn't really look at my phone, and I'm just watching televangelists, and it was
that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And the bed wasn't very comfortable at all, obviously.
No, they're not comfortable. They're working on it. They've got it upgraded. They got Wi-Fi there now, so.
It was back when they had the crazy owner, or not crazy owner. Sorry, like the owner the previous owner was like kind of a problematic asshole, right? Okay, just make sure I'm remembering that correctly.
He was Indian.
Okay.
Not Native American.
Right. Yeah, from India, and he was always seemed to be pissed off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a happy camper.
Right. But I love Cave City. There's something weird and foreboding about that city or the town it feels almost mystical, like I don't know.
There's a vortex there for sure.
Yeah.
It's an energy vortex that makes me crazy, so I love it.
Yeah. No,
I always love Cave City.
I think we're kind of on the same wavelength as far as you could feel it in the air when you get into town. Like there's something up, something's up with this place.
Well, it's a vacation land.
Yeah.
It's made for tourists, so it's really cool.
Hopefully, I can work on it over the weekend. Like,
okay.
Probably maybe have it up by Monday, maybe.
Cool.
We'll see.
That'd be great. Send me the link and I'll send it around. I'll put it on the Funtown page too, which is actually now the Everything Will Be Okay, the movie page. That's another thing I failed to mention is that I've written a screenplay called Everything Will Be Okay, the movie, the annoyingly true story of the rise and fall of Funtown Mountain.
Oh, I can't wait.
And it's a doozy. Yeah.
I can't wait. And do you want to add like how, I don't know, do you have a Patreon or how people can get in contact with you or?
So I have a travel blog called Curious Kentucky. It's curiouskentucky.com. and they can go to the website or we're on Facebook and Instagram. Curious Kentucky. It's a storytelling blog. The greatest story ever told is the story of the Floyd Collins, a man who was a cave explorer who was buried 5 times in Cave City.
Okay.
So check out that story at Curious Kentucky. I'm a storyteller as well, so.
Hell yeah. All right, Big Will. Thank you so much, man.
All right, Ryan. Take care.
All right, see ya.